All right, welcome to Midwest Technical Inspections virtual seminars. The seminar you're attending today is Introduction to Web Inspect. My name is Aaron York. I'll be your presenter for the duration of this session. Thank you for coming on board with us today. And we're going to very quickly go through an introduction to the inspector website, various functions you can perform within the site, and hopefully give some tips and tricks that I use in my daily workflow to make this a more effective and efficient process getting started. What you're seeing on screen now is GISA, or Global Inspection System Access. This is our proprietary website where all of our field personnel go to get started with the work. It doesn't really matter what browser you choose to utilize. This session will be delivered within Microsoft Edge, but you can choose to use any number of different browsers to access the site. Mozilla, Safari, Firefox, Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, same with you. So just the experience should be similar regardless of browser. The first step really to get started with the site is to log into the site. So basically what we're going to do is upper left-hand side of the screen, there is an orange login button. So upper left-hand side has a login button. That's where I go to click to actually get to my password screen. Upon conclusion of this webinar, your manager would contact you and provide to you this information for your inspector ID and your account, so you're able to go into your account and start working through the work. Usually the managers will supply this information upon conclusion of a webinar and confirmation you were actually in here. So this is going to be your, get you your username and password via your state manager or regional manager. So I put in my unique character string and I go ahead and log into my site. It's going to bring me to the inspector homepage. Inspector homepage has got two distinct sections in here. The upper third is where we're going to spend the majority of our time today. And that is navigating our actual inspections. And then the bottom 2/3 of the window is what they call the news header. The news header has some different hyperlinks within that you can access and play around with. So the first hyperlink that's within news is called the training calendar. The training calendar allows you to go in and actually see future webinars that MTI is offering. So if you want to go and register for a future seminar, you could actually go in and register for a class like this one and register for it. If you click on Learn More, it brings up the calendar, shows you the various dates that are upcoming, and then you're able to click on whatever date you might want to attend the class, gives you a description of the webinar it's running, and also a real quick write-up on the class, so you know before you would decide to attend or not what the content covered within that class will include. Okay. Webinars do rotate. We do run them 3 to 4 days a week generally, and the classes we do offer do range. So there's a wide range of different classes we offer. FAQs is going to be a glossary type document that covers common questions that people have asked over and over and over again across the years. So they are logged in one easy to access area for the field staff under FAQs. The final item within here is contact list. If you want to get a hold of someone with MTI corporate office and you're not sure, you don't want to find your email box to find that one random email they sent you with their phone number on it or their email address, whatever, you could go in to learn more on the contact list and find your respective state regional manager that you can get their information within there. It gives you the phone numbers, contact information, email addresses, all that kind of stuff within the contact list. We're going to go ahead and access the case list now. That's going to be My Inspections at the top of the screen. My Inspection says, click this link to see inspection assigned to you. So I click on the little bold header there, My Inspections. That will load up our current inspection listing. Okay. The way that the site is set up is the following. You have 3 different folders that cases can be found within. The first folder is called New Work. Any brand new assignment that's assigned to a field member will automatically show up in the New Work folder by default. So once you have case assigned, it automatically shows up here. Once you recognize you have a job, you're able to go in and move it to working. Working signifies you are in fact working the job. So if you're working a case, it basically constitutes things such as printing the job, calling it, trying to schedule it, going out running the case, and maybe in the process of writing up the case. So it goes through all these various items for you. And then to the right here, we have Return to Office. Return to Office is the final folder in the system. And that folder is the case that the option we would select in order to send a case back to MTI. So new work, move a case to working. When you're done with the case, you move it to Return to Office. As the session moves along today, we'll show you how you navigate the various statuses. But for now, just know these are your categories of cases and where they can be situated. Okay. To take it a step further on the system, every 2 hours roughly, downloads of work occur, which in every 2 hours it will happen. So if you have a case assigned to you today already, when the next download occurs, those cases are sent to your inspector account on the next download. Okay. Likewise, the reverse. If you had cases written up and wanted to submit them, you could return them to MTI. When the next upload of work occurs, those cases are taken off your inspector account and placed inside the review account. You'll have cases going in and out of the pipeline as you get work assigned, return work back, and so on. That's kind of the idea behind it. And before we get into the case load here, across the top of the screen, you have a bunch of orange headers. All of your headers are able to be sorted. You click on a given header, it'll sort it alphabetically or numerically with a single click or a second click. First click goes alphabetically from Z to A. Second click goes alphabetically from A to Z. Likewise, numerical sort. If you want to sort it by zip code, which might be a common way to do it, high number to low number. Second click would be your low number to high number. So you have the ability to sort your work before you want to do anything additionally with it. If you want to group it by city, by county, whatever you want, however you want to work the various market that you're working through. One thing that we want to show you within the case list here, though, is on the left-hand side of the screen, we have this S column. I'm going to pick on the first 3 cases today here, but the S column stands for select. And I'm actually, in fact, selecting those 3 jobs. The question might be, okay, what am I selecting those 3 jobs for? Well, off the left-hand side of the screen, we have this feature called the planner. Okay, the planner. So if I want to have those 3 cases selected, and I click on the planner would bring up a pop-up menu here where you have some different options available to you. All right. A couple options available to you are as follows. I'll number them more quickly here. We have 1, 2, 3. Number 1, it lets you go ahead and print your case list within a order ticket summary. Order ticket summary prints you a running list of all your inspections, back to back to back, up to 3 inspections on 1 piece of paper. So you want to print a running list of all your inspections back to back to back. Order ticket summary might be a nice option to choose in order to do that. Number 2, ticket information sheets. Ticket information sheets prints you 1 sheet of paper for each inspection. Gives you addresses, phone numbers, agency information, special handling, things like that on 1 sheet of paper. So you have 3 inspections selected. It prints you 3 sheets of paper. Case 1 with some blank space at the bottom to take some notes. Case 2, some blank space at the bottom. Case 3, some blank space at the bottom of the page and take notes as you're making your phone calls live. Number 3, ticket information sheets with activities. Now, activities is a placeholder on the website for your forms. So if you want to know what forms a case calls for, this is how you go about doing it. It tells you the activities. I'm going to go back a step here and show you on the main page here how you can do this as well. Across the top of the ticket here, you have activities. That's going to be the placeholder for the forms. Now, the forms can range between, least amount of letters or numbers is probably 2 on up to 4 letter or numerical values. And they designate various form types being ordered by the various clients. I wouldn't get too caught up in the abbreviations for now, but it is a placeholder for the form. So when you print the forms, you can get the correct form printed. So when the time comes to get into your cases, you've got the forms you need. Ticket information sheets with activities allows you to do that. So printing your ticket with the forms behind it. Okay. Some people choose to not print the forms. That's fine. If you are a tech-savvy person, you want to use a smartphone, tablet, laptop, or something in the field, you could do your form write-up live at the appointment. So while you're at your appointment, you could go in with your laptop or tablet, whatever, pull up the website and actually go through the form live with the client while you're there. Some people do that. Some people prefer to take the hard copy paper forms with them and do the notes while they do the walkthrough with those. It's really up to you how you choose to go about it. Both get you the same desired result, which is a complete inspection. So it's really up to you how you choose to run your cases. Some people like to print the forms for the first couple months to get used to the forms, what they're asking, what you're looking for, so you're a little more savvy in the field before you move over to a laptop or tablet or something in the field. But some people feel that using the clipboard with paper goes faster because you can get through more appointments quickly versus trying to navigate a computer. I would definitely, as a fail-safe or a backup measure, it may be a good idea to keep some paper forms in your car, because if you can't get access to the web page for some reason while you're at an appointment, you're at an appointment and you have no questionnaire, you're kind of winging the report then. You don't have any notes to look for to really do it. So I would recommend probably keeping some forms in the car with you. If you're going to go the tech way of just using a tablet or something, you still probably have some hard copies of things with you in case you don't have internet access wherever you're at. So I'll tell you what it's worth there, but just being a aforementioned item there. Another function the planner does perform for you is has a hyperlink to Google Maps. If you are a Google Maps user, Google Maps will very quickly at a glance let you go in and see where your inspections fall. You can get a mapping system to come up and actually see where your inspections hit. So if you had a bunch of inspections ordered and you want to very quickly isolate which inspections fall where, you maybe had 18 inspections selected or 12 inspections, whatever it is, you could very quickly see if 3 or 4 up north, 3 or 4 to the west, 3 or 4 to the south. You can very quickly see how best to arrange your route. Now, the biggest mistake brand new inspectors make is to not be deliberate in their call efforts. You got to be really prepared before you pick up a phone to start calling these things for appointments, because you don't want to be, zigzagging across the map. You want to, if you had a bunch of cases up north, probably do all those one day or 2 days, get them all grouped up and do all the appointments in that window. Maybe cases to the west one day, cases to the south one day. So you're going to be more methodical and deliberate in your scheduling. So Google Maps is a quick way at a glance to see where your inspections fall, and you can be, put together a route basically. Another thing Google Maps allows you to do is quickly isolate possible problem inspections. If you had any problem inspections that are like outliers or 3 hours away from you or something, you could very quickly isolate that case and know that might be a case that was assigned to you in error. So that's another thing you could use the planner for. If you do not like using Google Maps, you could export a data file as well. Exporting lets you export a data file of all your inspection addresses that you can go ahead and import to mapping software. So if you choose to go about it, you can use a secondary mapping program, such as Microsoft Streets and Trips, things like that, to go ahead and do these things. So that's going to be your planner. As I said at the beginning here, planner, if nothing more, is a print job tool and also a very quick routing tool for you to utilize. Working down the left-hand side of the screen, we don't really do much with payroll, but payroll does let you know what current pay period you're working on. If you wanted to, you want to make sure you have the cases that you did in the field physically written up and completed before you go on to a new pay period. You have the option every 2 weeks to close out a check and go on to the next one. So here it shows new pay period here. Click on new pay period. It will in fact close out the prior check and move on to the current one that we are in now. They are paid bi-weekly, so 2 week set of dates that are listed there. The next check that's cut would reflect those dates. As long as the case were able to be reviewed and processed without issue, those cases will be reflected on your next check. Another item here, the library. Left-hand side there, library. Library is a catalog of MTI stuff in one easy-to-access area, so you can very quickly at a glance go in and start playing around with some various fields here. One thing that people tend to use within the library is the Web Inspect User Guide. It's a print version of this class, so you're able to navigate most of the steps that you see here in this video. You can actually do locally to you and see how to handle various steps within the website. Okay. Within the site, you also have access to the form catalog. So you want to click on a given form. It will bring up a PDF of that form that you can go ahead and print. We have them in commercial lines field forms. We have them in personal lines field forms. Then we have them in valuations. So if you're doing commercial, residential, or replacement cost estimators, you have those items available to you for your reference. Anything past the valuations is additional help documents and support documents, but if you want to get in and play around with that part of the site at the bottom, there's more areas within there you can play around with as well. But for the most part, what we use the library for is the user guide, as well as some printing of forms if you so choose to. That's the library. The remainder of this class is actually looking at a live inspection. So for our purposes, to open up a live report, all you do is hold your mouse over a given row, and it will turn that row baby blue. You double click your mouse on that row, it will open up a live order. You may also notice on the left-hand side of the screen, there is an option for no open over here. Open will also, if you select that, will also open up the ticket here as well. You can double click the row, or you could click on open. I click on open, and it brings me to the case live. Now the way this kind of works is you're in the live, what they call ticket details. And that's also the highlighted tab here, details. You're in the order ticket itself live, where you can put in charges, add forms, things like that to the live order. The basic idea behind write-up is this. You go into the form, or the order ticket, then you just navigate left to right. Click on a form, fill it out, save it. Click on a form, fill it out, and save it over and over and over again. Okay. You do have some functionality within the details page here that we're going to go over right now for the next 3 to 5 minutes. Within details, you have the ability to add additional forms. So if it turned out that you had forms in here that were incorrect, or better yet, you had more than one building in a single location, you could go in and add additional forms for additional buildings. From time to time, it may also occur that your manager calls you and says, hey, this client notified us they ordered this incorrectly. They'd like this form done instead. You could go in and add an additional form for that as well. So ability to add forms is available to you. You're not able to delete forms, you can only add them. So anything that was on the original order, you're able to only add more, you cannot delete. So if a form was not applicable or something, you could type like delete this form on it or something to signify we don't need that form. But you cannot remove forms, you can only add them on the inspector side. First item you see on the details page past adding forms is idiosyncrasies. Now, idiosyncrasies is a customer's account-wide handling. Okay, so we have a customer account-wide handling. When the sales department meets with a given customer, before that customer ever starts ordering from us, they agree to certain terms with our staff. So when our field staff get the cases, we are actually fulfilling the requirements that customer has. Idiosyncrasies is generally like the rules for that customer, is basically how we explain it. They may have special photo rules, they may have special handling rules, and what they want you, how you want to approach that inspection or their inspections as a whole. They may have special handling for certain lines of coverage only. Maybe they order regular property inspections, but the special handling you see here is all tied to workers' comp. Your case was not for workers' comp, so part of the special handling for this account doesn't apply to that order. So you got to be kind of careful when you read through the idiosyncrasies to make sure it applies to your case. When I was brand new with MTI, what I would do is when I printed my order tickets, I would highlight the parts that were applied to me. So I had a good working understanding of the items that I'm required to perform. But it's account-wide handling for this customer as a whole. So if I work in Florida, I work in Ohio, I work in Oregon, wherever I reside and do inspections, we all are operating out of the same general rule set. Okay, so that's account-wide handling. Below that, we have special instructions. Special instructions is handling for this single ticket. Okay, you have account-wide handling for the customer itself, and then special handling for this single ticket only. So it really gets us a double team approach here. Idiosyncrasies for the account as a whole, special instructions for this special handling for this single location or order only. Okay. As we move down the inspection, you're going to see a little map icon here. This again is for Google Maps. So if you wanted to open up, click on this and load it, it would bring up a Google Maps page for that inspection. The basic idea behind why it's here is for diagramming. So we are actually using Google Maps for sketching. We do all of our sketching via satellite. So I'll send out some instructions on how you would go about doing that. But basically, if I click on that map link, what it basically does, it opens up a web page of that site. Then I'm able to go in on satellite, zoom into that location, and I can actually do a footprint diagram of that property if I wanted to, for just applying this as a diagram. We'll send out instructions on this, how this works exactly, but just know you're able to access a satellite view of your inspection address on the fly within the ticket. Okay, back to our order here, just so you know that's what that's doing. And again, that's the satellite view for our diagrams, and you'll get handling instructions emailed to you on how that would work here shortly. There's also items within the library that will go over it as well. Okay, some other handling that's available to you within here: inspection address original. You have the ability to change the inspection address on the fly. Or maybe they screwed up on the order. And the address was different than the order you actually received. When you called the insured, they said, hey, they screwed up. The address is actually here. You can, on review, update the inspection address to the more current, what the current or correct address is supposed to be. This will happen often where the order is incorrect. We would go ahead and update the address to show where we're actually going as best as possible. Another thing you are required to do is on our inspections is put in your charges. I'm going to explain how this kind of works here for a second, the next 4 or 5 minutes here. But we have both commercial lines and personal lines work. Okay, and I drew the red line there across, splitting up 2 sections here. Above that red line, there is an option, a little box, white box there. It says hours charged, and you're able to click inside that little white box and put in your hourly charge for that inspection. Okay, we have all of our commercial lines inspections are hourly rated. Now, there are caps on some of these things where it's like a straight 1 hour charge or something, but a lot of times we'll have hourly reports where you go over and above an hour or plus based on what you find here. So you're charging for your time for this inspection. So if it took you, 15 minutes on the phone to schedule it, maybe it took you 45 minutes on location to physically do the inspection, then it took you a half hour at home to finish it up, add the photos, fill out the form, finalize it, whatever. You can put in 1.5 hours in that box there to register the time you spent on that inspection. Okay. Additionally, to commercial lines, we do have some hourly rated residential work as well, but generally speaking, most hourly work we do is commercial. There are a couple activities, codes, or form types we do that are residential hourly, but by and large, commercial work is hourly and residential is not. Below the red line I drew, we have PL for personal lines. Personal lines work is generally flat rated. What that comes to mean is that you're getting paid a set fee for that inspection every single time it's ordered. You receive a flat fee for the inspection. Okay. There are additional monies available, though, on flat rated cases where you can charge for difficulty or bad information with those cases. One such charge you can bill for is a no street charge. No street would represent having to charge the client for the address being incorrect for some reason. The address was wrong. We're charging to correct it. Okay. No phone. No phone. Generally, for residential inspections, we don't really have to get a phone number because you're doing exterior only type reports. But sometimes we have to have a phone number to get a hold of insured, secure directions, things like that. We may have to have a phone number to call them for some reason, and we don't have one available to do so. When we need it, we can charge the client for having to gain a phone number. Okay, so we can charge them for gaining a phone number. And then lastly is appointment. Now, as I said before, personal lines work is generally non-appointment type surveys. You're getting the order as received, and you're able to go out and run it. As long as it pulls up on the map, you're able to find it pretty easy with no frills. However, sometimes you may encounter a residential location where they're behind a guardhouse, a gated community, something like that, where you cannot actually get to the property without an appointment being made. So you have to bill the client because of us having to make the appointment. Okay, so we're having to make an appointment for the inspection where it would not ordinarily be required. There are some flat rated residential reports as well that do require appointments that are flat rated. Our basic electrical and heating surveys are a flat-rated appointment-driven survey. You can charge for making an appointment in those types of circumstances. But residential, by and large, is non-appointment. And you'd be clicking that appointment button for difficulty with the site, or if you have like electrical and heating survey, something like that, where it does require an appointment on a flat-rated case. So if that makes sense there, and so on. Okay. All right. So we're going to move down a little bit here, and we're going to pose a question here. All right. What is an appointment? Okay. People may have different perceptions about what this actually is. I want to outline this to you as how we approach appointments and how we're navigating this process. Okay. The example I give to people often is that we are not a dentist office. Not to pass shame on them or something, but we are not a dentist office. Okay. Dentists, you go to get your cleaning, you get the end of the appointment, you get to the customer service desk. They want to schedule our appointment. They give you a business card. Says, hey, come back in 6 months at this day at this time. Okay. That's not what we do when it comes to scheduling inspections. Scheduling inspections, you want to schedule appointment windows. You do not want to schedule set times. If you're scheduling set times, you kind of get stuck to that time on that place at that time. So you're not able to have flexibility in your schedule. The biggest advantage you have as an inspector is keeping flexibility in your schedule as best as possible. The more you get locked down to being somewhere at a certain time, you're kind of getting rid of your freedom a little bit with your day. So when you start calling on appointments for us, we are a service company. So what that comes to mean is we are delivering a service. Most service companies, if you think of like having furniture delivered, having a service technician at your house doing internet installation, repairing a furnace, whatever it may be. You have someone coming to your house for a service. They usually give you an appointment window for that service. They'll say, hey, we'll be there Tuesday between 8 and noon. And then that business would have to know that you're coming within that window. You're coming to the location at that specified window, so someone should be there. Okay? That's what you're doing. You're scheduling appointment windows. The trick to this business is to stagger your appointment windows. So like if you have 6 or 7 cases in one area, you start calling them, you get a hold of these people, they answer the phone. You ask them on the phone, hey, what time of day is better for you? Morning, afternoon, early, morning, mid-morning, late morning. You kind of partition off your day best you, however you choose. They just say, hey, it'd be great. We open at 8. You can come anytime in the morning. Cool. I'll be between 8 and 11. Then you call your next couple tickets. You get a hold of one that's also available in the morning. They don't care if you come in the morning too. Cool. I'll be here between 9 and noon. And you start stacking appointments like on these windows. So you make your day tighter and more able to get more work done. The big gray area in doing inspections is you don't know what you're walking into. Some inspections may take 20 minutes. Some may take an hour. Some may take 3 hours. You don't really know what that's going to look like for sure. So by giving yourself an appointment window, you eliminate some of that arbitrary stress on your day. You don't want to be rushing from appointment to appointment to appointment, feeling pressure, having to get to the next one because you got to be somewhere at a certain day or certain time. You don't want to be rushing from one to the next to the next to the next. Your whole day is a big grind. That's not what we want you to have to deal with. If you're rushing from appointment to appointment, you're more apt to miss things. You're more apt to take shortcuts, maybe miss a couple photos here or there, whatever. Step over a couple things and just not be as tight of an inspector in the field. So if you're under the gun, stressing, whatever, the report quality may go down and certain liberties may be taken with that extra pressure. By doing appointment windows, it eliminates some of that additional stress. So, and then you may, if your appointments run, it's very rare for you to have 3 or 4 bad inspections in a row where the first one takes 3 hours, second one takes 2.5 hours, third one takes 3 hours, and before you know it, your whole day's gone with 3 inspections. That's pretty rare, but worst case, if you have a really bad day, you can call your later appointment window case and say, hey, I apologize, today went really long, I need to come back a different day. You can just schedule those leftover cases from your appointment window to a different day. But by and large, you have some cases that go longer, some go shorter, and it all kind of washes out in the end of the day. So you'll have a couple quick, a couple slow, and it kind of washes out. So, but by doing appointment windows, it still eliminates your added pressure from having to be somewhere certain day, certain time, and so on. If you schedule appointment windows, you're also not having a lot of downtime where you're going to be sitting in a parking lot, making phone calls, or sitting down to Starbucks trying to get a coffee, trying to do right up in the middle of the day. It eliminates all that. You don't have to wait an hour to the next appointment or something. It eliminates all that extra, possibly wasted time potentially, or downtime, if you will. Okay. I will make set appointments if an insured is adamant about it. Like they really, really want you there at 9 a.m. and they will not come off their budget at all. I will oblige that, but generally speaking, I do avoid making set appointments. I'm going to be here at this day, this time. I do avoid that as much as I can because I don't want to be locked into that spot at that time, because the appointment before that could go long or could be super quick. We could be too early and the owner's not going to be there yet. You get there 5, 10, 15 minutes early. You're supposed to be there at 9 o'clock. No one's there. You're calling the guy, oh, hey, I'm on the way. Sorry, running late. And then before you know it, you waste a half hour waiting on an appointment because you're locked in a set appointment. Appointment windows allows you the fluidity and the flexibility to be more exact in the field. So I want to have that flexibility in my favor. Okay. So I hope that makes sense of the appointment idea. Another thing that you are required to do for us, obviously, is taking photos. It'd be probably good to know what the photo requirements are. They are listed in every single order you receive. The photos that are required are based on line of insurance coverage. So depending on what the policy calls for, we'll list out what photos are required. So front, rear, they usually want a couple interior photos, hazard photos, life safety systems, mechanicals like electrical, plumbing, heating, fire extinguisher tags, things like that. Any specialty exposures like a paint booth, commercial cooking line for like a restaurant or something. You want to give us, a pretty good assortment of with the underwriter not being there, you're being the eyes and ears of the underwriter. You want to give them a good idea of what's actually there. So your photo allotment is going to represent that property and represent it well. That's kind of the goal of the photo list here. We don't need a crazy amount of photos, but I would say the average report probably has 20 pictures on it. It's not like a basic retail store or something. Most inspections probably have 20 or so photos on it between the outside and inside of the structure. Okay. It would probably make good sense to take a look at how you go about doing this. So there is on the system a way to attach photos. So we know what our requirements are. How do I actually go about adding these photos? So the left-hand side of the ticket here has photos. I click on photos, brings up a pop-up window. And within the photos, we have the ability to add new pictures. Before I attempt to add new pictures, though, I do want to talk about some general rules here. in the handling of photos and how you go about approaching it here. The first rule of picture taking or attaching photos here is we do have a file size limit on the system. And then I want to talk about the max here per upload. All right, so 2 general rules we have for photos. In order to attach the pictures, you've got to meet these 2 rules. The first rule of uploading pictures to our site is, or to your ticket, I should say, is they got to be under 400 kilobytes. So if you exceed 400 kilobytes on a photo for the total size, it will not attach this ticket. So it's too large. So if your photos are too large, we do have a resizing tool available where you can resize your pictures to a smaller size. But if you're using a smartphone or a tablet for taking your photos, there's a very strong likelihood the pictures will be too large. So just know that you may have to resize them down in order to add them. The second general rule of pictures, you get to upload them in batches of less than 20 at a time. So let's say you did a golf course, there were 6 buildings there, and you took 84 photos across that golf course for your inspection, representing those photos, those buildings and such. You'd upload the first 20, upload the second 20, upload the third 20, fourth 20, and then your last 4 to get your 84 photos on that ticket. So less than 20 at a time. Now, like I said before, the average report probably has around 20. But if you have properties and multiple structures on the location, you're going to obviously have more photos than 20. There's not like a set number you're required to take either. I'm just giving a general assumption here. 20 is a pretty fair number for most locations. You're not really in trouble or something if you take more, but just you will be obviously adding more photos if you have more buildings there. Okay. In order to add pictures, we want to go ahead and click on the new button there. So that new over here, upper left-hand side here, I circled in red. Go ahead and select new. We're doing this all real time, so I'm going to browse my computer to find a picture file that I want to go ahead and add. So I've got one set up here for my photos. Got some photos in here. You can click one photo at a time if you want to. You can click one photo, hold down the Shift key, and click all the pictures in the range. Ready? Click one photo, hold down the Control key, and pick and choose which photo you want or don't want. So if you have 20 or 20, whatever, 25 photos or something, you can pick whatever photos you do or do not want. For this example, I want to use all 3 of these photos. I'm going to click the first photo, hold down the Shift key, click the second photo, hit open at the bottom and that silver button there. And you want to hit upload photos. And I've got the image is able for me to go ahead and start manipulating here. First thing you want to note about the pictures here, they are not added. So be forewarned, just because you uploaded them, they're not on the ticket. They're kind of like in a holding file, waiting for you to label them. Okay. So the first photo here, how do we add a label? So the first way we go about doing this is we select an image, and then you want to select a type of photo that's here. So the drop-down list lets you go in and select what type of photo you'd like here. So front, rear, roof, detached garage. There's a whole litany of different titles here. In this case, it looks like it's the rear of the building. We'll just do rear. And then we can also put a comment in here. So you can see here on this upper door, at one point there's probably a landing there. You can see where the rails are there. They were moved. They removed it there, so it's not there anymore. Maybe there were steps there or something they removed. But that's a hazard for our purposes for underwriting. So we want to have that exposure documented within the report. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the second photo here. I want to select my photo. What type of photo is this? Hit the drop-down list here. Got a bunch of predetermined titles within here. Again, this time around, we're dealing with an electrical panel. And then you can also customize here. The cover to the panel is not on it. Missing. Maybe it's being worked on or something's going on, but we have the cover panel missing, which for our purposes is a hazard again. And then our last photo here. Select the photo. What kind of, what's going on in the picture here? What type of photo is it? Hit the drop-down list here. It's a rear photo of the building again. We'll do slip trip file hazard. And then missing. Handrails. There are no handrails on this set of steps. It's just open steps, ready to go to a door. So we're able to go ahead and update or make that change. Correct top of the screen. If we're happy with our labels, want to add the pictures. Hit the add photos button here. And if I scroll down, this ticket already has some sample photos on it, but we're going to go to the photos we just added here. I'm going to scroll down. Got my first photo here, showing what it looks like. Second photo we added, third photo we added. I can remove the picture if I so choose. What's that? Oh, you can also update the title here too. Maybe you want to update the label to something different, and then you could go ahead and save that change. Or you could remove it entirely. If you want to remove the photo, sure. Hit remove, and then it gets rid of the photo. You scroll back down here again. And this time around, that photo of the rear of that building is gone now. Okay, so you're able to add, you can upload your photos, label them, add them. After you add them, you can go back in and modify the caption, and you can also remove that photo from the ticket. That's photos. It's a real basic introduction to photos. You'll get good at it pretty quickly, as it's a very repetitive process. The next item here is attachments. Now, attachments for us allows me to go in and add files off my computer. So you're able to browse your computer, and you're able to go in and add files off your computer you've saved. Could be Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PDFs, scanned documents, whatever you so choose to add can be done with the attachments menu that we're in now. The majority of inspectors are using this for adding or attaching their satellite diagrams that we did Google Maps on earlier. We didn't do the actual diagram, but we talked about how you click the link within the ticket to get the satellite view to come up. Then you can actually save a PDF of the diagram of that location. Okay, so you could, a lot of reps, that's what they're using it for. You're able to go in and add or attach a PDF or Word doc, whatever, to the ticket as here. There are some specialty customers that may require a specialty diagram program be added as well. If you are servicing a customer that has that specialty client or clients, we would have to work with you on installation of that program. But by and large, 90+% of our inspectors are using satellite diagramming for your sketching. Just be aware of that again. And this is how you go about adding them, is within the attachments menu. The final little help item on the left-hand side here is notes. Notes, you can add one of two different types of notes to a given case. The first type of note is a status note. For inspectors, we are required to add a note to each assigned ticket once per week. So you're required to add a status note to each case assigned to you at least once a week. This is your way of indicating your progress with this inspection. If you have an appointment scheduled for next week, Wednesday, you have a note in there signifying that. So we are aware of it. There's no surprises. Okay? That's going to be our status on the job. Okay? Another type of, so that's going to be your way of statusing the workload that's assigned to you. You are required once a week to do so. If you get behind on this and aren't keeping up on it, they will limit or reduce the cases they assign to you in the future because they will not load you up if you can't keep them statused out with what's going on with them. Another note that could be added is a review note. This would be a note specific to the review department. So if you've got a case that you're working with the reviewer on, or you sent a case in and they sent it back to you for missing information or something, you can add a specific note to the review department that they will view upon receipt of the order. Okay, so it's a quality control department note, basically. Okay. The remainder of this class is looking at a live form. We're going to go in and click on a form here, which in this case is MPS. There is a fail-safe built in. If you forget to save your work, it reminds you to do so. The update button is your save button. This is your save button. Okay, so you click save, update, it saves your changes, saves your progress, whatever it may be, it's doing it here. Okay, we're gonna go into the MPS form now. The MPS form has, or any of our, not just the MPS form, but any of our forms have three different types of questions on it. The first type of form here would be the radio button question, which is a one-time answer. It's only answer it one way. We have a text box type question where you can free type within the box. Then they also have multiple choice questionnaires as well. You can do more than one response to a given question. Some questions have a hidden box behind it. If you clicked on a given response, it will let you go in and type out behind the hidden box what commentary is required there. Okay. Another thing that's available to you within the live orders are contact efforts. This is for non-productive surveys. This is how you signify the efforts you've made in order to close out a report. So how do I go about closing out a report? Okay. We didn't really talk about yet. What are my requirements for calling? Okay. So it makes good sense for me to know what that's going to be. My handling on the inspection requires me to make certain phone calls in order for me to complete the inspection or simply get rid of it to close it out. So obviously the insured might answer the phone on the first call. That'd be great. We'd be able to get their appointment scheduled up. But what is my requirement if I don't answer the first call? then what am I supposed to do? Our general protocol is we make 3 phone calls to an insured, 1 phone call to an agent. How you make those calls is up to you. We generally recommend you make spread your calls out 24 to 48 hours apart. So make your first call, wait a day or 2, make your second call, wait a day or 2, and so on and so on and so on. You got to get to 4 total calls in order to close out your inspection. What I recommend you do, make your first 2 calls the insured. If you don't get a response, call the agency for help. Maybe they get a contact number, different number or something, and then call the insured the 3rd time for your final call to make all those calls in 10 days or so total. Document your efforts. A couple minutes ago, we talked about statusing notes and how you put a note on a ticket to indicate your efforts and that you're required to add a note to each ticket once a week. This is how you document your efforts with your statusing notes. You're using notes to status the jobs. If there's no response, close out the case. All calls you made within 14 days of receipt. So all calls should be made within 14 days. Okay? And if you don't get the callbacks within 14 days, great. You send it back and we move on to the next thing. Okay? But if you were trying to get your calls in and are done with the case, this is where you're putting your efforts in on the ticket to close out the job. So it has in the little, items here, what the effort was, what day, what effort was made, what was the result of the call, and on and on and on, for to close out the inspection. Okay. Ideally, most inspections should be productive, so we're not going to have to close out the inspection, but you're able to go in, fill out the questionnaire in all likelihood, and move through the questionnaire pretty smoothly and swiftly. Within the report, there is a description of operations. This is observed on commercial lines inspections. It's a 1-paragraph write-up on the business. So I'm going to kind of make that distinction here. On the business. 1 paragraph on the business. It's not a regurgitation of the inspection. It's what does this business do? What services do they offer? How do they offer them? What are they enlisting? What's being used? What's being done? And so on. Explain the business. It's not the recanting of the inspection results. It's what does the business do? Okay. Moving down the form, you do get to a narrative box. Narrative box is your ability to elaborate on anything up above that was unclear. So if you had additional items you would like to state, you can do it here, explaining the state of the report or that section of the form. You can elaborate further on it if you so choose. I do not want filler. No filler write-ups. What that means is we're not doing clutter. We're not doing words for the sake of words. If it adds value to the report, please do so, but do not just regurgitate the questionnaire in a narrative format. If it adds value, do it. If it does not, it's just cluttering it up, do not add additional filler. No filler. Keep it simple. Go from there. Okay. You can collapse, expand sections by hitting the plus or minus sign to the left of each section. At some point in the questionnaire, you arrive at an operational exposure section. What is this section? When does it apply? Is it required? What am I doing? Operational exposures are sections of the questionnaire that are geared to certain types of businesses or certain types of exposures only. Every single inspection you touch will not fill these sections out. Certain ones will. If you happen to be inspecting an apartment, that would apply to your inspection. Other inspections may have nothing to do with apartments, condos, townhomes. Maybe you're inspecting a daycare. Daycare has nothing to do with this, or a machine shop or something. Has nothing to do with this. You'd ignore that section and move on. But if you have the exposure that's listed there, which in this case is apartment, condo, HOA, or townhome, if you had that exposure, fill it out. If you don't, you move on. Collapse it down into the next one, and the next one, and the next one. I'm going to collapse all these down quickly, and we'll look at them as a grouping. So you have a grouping of a bunch of different operational items. Okay? If you have the exposure at the location you're at, you fill it out. If you do not have the exposure, you ignore it. So there's a bunch of different types of businesses or operations in here. Mobile home parks, daycares, warehousing operations, a bunch of different things are listed here. Paint booths for like a body shop. If you have the exposure, you fill it out. If you do not, you ignore it. These sections may have very specific questions in them that you would not necessarily think to ask. Unless you're an expert on apartment inspections, you may not really think to ask some of the things in that section or sections. So these sections are very specific to certain types of exposures. So just be kind of aware of it. They're at the tail end of the form, so you can elaborate on any specialty exposure that exists. Once you get past the operational items or special, you get to the very end of the report. It's your chance to rate the policy. What do you think about the inspection? What were your findings? Okay. Before we go into the next step on the form here, at the very top of the inspection, there are a bunch of blue buttons across the top. Okay. We already covered that update is saved. So we already covered the save button. Update is saved. Okay. We didn't cover the two blue arrow buttons here. The arrow buttons go into prior section or next section of the form. So by default, for this questionnaire, we're seeing the entire form up front. But if I didn't want to see the whole form up front, I could choose to look at a given section only. So I go to the top section of the listing here, click on that, and it brings me to the first section of the form, which in this case is 3 questions long. I can click the right arrow here, and it moves me through the questionnaire, going section by section through the form. If I click the drop-down list again, I can see them on the 4th section of the form. Some people prefer this method because you can navigate quick sections quickly. Other people like just, scrolling down the form with the mouse. So it's really up to you how you choose to go about it, but you have it. Either option will be serviceable for what we're trying to do. We have a spell check button built in. All right, so if I fill out some forms here, you may see this happen live. I'm going to hold out and hitting the last E here for warehouse. You're probably going to see the form auto-corrected out. Okay, I typed 3 words. The first word I typed too fast, but actually I did spell it incorrectly, but it auto-corrected it while I was typing. Second word I misspelled quite a bit and underlined it in red. Third word I also misspelled and it auto-corrected out as I typed. The spell check button I circled in red will catch all these red underlined words and let you manually update that word. So you click the spell check, it goes through all of your red underlined words throughout the questionnaire, letting you update them as you go. The last button here is REC. REC is a hyperlink for adding recommendations to a case. So you are actually adding improvements to the policy. Things based on your walkthrough, what did you see was problematic? So you're able to make recommendations for improving your inspection. In this case, we're going to go ahead and hit add recommendation. I'm going to pick on one of my photos we added in class here. And we have a bunch of titles here. So let's say we want to do our electrical panel photo here. We got a bunch of categories here: building maintenance, common hazards, fire protection. What's the exposure that the electrical panel is under? That's considered a mechanical system, so a common hazard. And we can scroll through the list here to find a recommendation that applies to my panel not having a cover on it. In this case, we can see right in the middle of the screen there, electric service panel use cover panel. I hold the mouse over top of that little title in blue. It's going to read out a little preview. Click on the blue header and it puts down below in white, the white box there. Exposed electrical panel should have front cover reinstalled. I can move down to my photo of the panel, click the little add box there, the check mark, and then hit add in silver. That little silver button at the very, very bottom of the screen there. Right there. I check marked it, hit add. You'll see a change. So now I have a recommendation on the report for an exposed electrical panel having a cover reinstalled. Okay, so it's kind of like you just grab one, go as you move through the form here. So add recommendation, find your category you'd like to cover, pick the title you want to use, find a supporting photo, add it. That's the process. It's very repetitive. That's how you go about doing it. You do have the ability to manipulate the recommendation after you add it. One way of manipulating the recommendation is editing it. The little pencil button there will let you edit the recommendation. You can modify the title there to fit your circumstances, hit save. And then now it has the little thing in there. This is the panel off the kitchen area. Maybe there's more than one panel in the building. Only this one was missing a cover panel. Then the last button on the left-hand side, the little recycle button, that's your trash or garbage button. It gets rid of the recommendation you chose to add. Delete it. It gets rid of the recommendation we made. Okay. Last step, the inspection, you do the same thing over and over and over. Click a form, say update it, click a form, update it over and over and over again. You go back to your details page at the end of the report. When you're done with everything, signed, sealed, delivered, you want to send this thing back to get paid for it. You assign an inspection date. What day were you there? You assign that date. Let's say I was there on Halloween. What current status does the case hold? I want to move it back to MTI. So I want to return it to the office I hit return to office, hit update in blue. Within 2 hours, you can see here these boxes are all filled in. I can't make changes to them. If I go to the form here that we just were in, all the fields are grayed out. I cannot make any changes. So once you return it to the office, it's locked out of your access basically, unless you turn it back to something else. Let's say when I get back to working the case, I screwed something up, forgot to add a recommendation, add some photos, whatever. I can change it back to working. Then I'll be able to go ahead and add, update my charge, whatever. Okay. Once you update a case to return to office, it will be sent to MTI review within 2 hours. You have a little bit of time to still edit the case. If you think you missed something or whatever, you still have a chance to go back in and update it before it's sent to MTI, or you just move it back to working or a different status other than return to office, and you'll still have the case in your inventory. Okay, go back to our case list here. We're almost done. I want to talk about the 2 things will get you out of here. So we'll go back to our thing here on calling. As inspectors go, you are required to submit invoices to MTI for the work you're doing. How you make that invoice is up to you. You can use Microsoft Word, Excel, the body of an email, handwritten invoice, scan document, whatever. However you choose to go about doing invoicing is fine. There are many apps out there on the App Store or the Google Play Store you can install that do invoicing on your phone as well if you want to do it that way. And then create an invoice you can email or send over. But we don't create the invoices for you. You're doing the billing on your end. Invoices would have to have your inspector name on it or business name if you're doing a DBA for your business. The inspector ID number, so your inspector ID number, the date of the invoice, so the date you created the invoice, and a listing of the cases you are billing MTI for. So if you did 6 inspections this week, you want to have the invoice represent those 6 inspections that you completed for us. Invoice needs to be on file for your check to be cut. We are a little premature at this point, but just know that your manager will work with you on your first invoice or 2 probably to help you get the idea behind it. But you are creating invoices for the work you are billing us for. Just be kind of aware of that. There's no surprise in that regard. If you don't have an invoice on file and you have done the inspections, submitted them, they will hold payment until you have an invoice on file. So be very, very careful with that. Last thing, then we'll get you out of here. I'm gonna go back to the library up here. So library, left-hand side there. So I'm gonna go back to the library. Okay, in the class, we just looked through and scrolled up and down the questionnaire, this form ID MPS. There's a bunch of different forms we have, but we looked at this form, okay? I'm picking on this form for a second for a reason. Every single commercial form you have is kind of put together in with the same little flaw, if you will, okay? Towards the bottom of the questionnaire, I wrote, when we were scrolling the form, I wrote 3 big question marks on the screen. We were talking about apartments, condo, homeowners association, townhome, daycare, mobile home park, all those types of things, okay? All those operational items are not on the print form of this form. If you print the hard copy to take with you in the field, it does not have those on there. The theory is it's saving you paper by not having them on there automatically. So you would have to know to go in here and print them as you need them. They are in here as supplements. So if you know you're inspecting a hotel, you know you're inspecting an auto repair garage, you know you're inspecting a mobile home park, whatever it may be, you've got a special set of questions for that type of exposure. The MPS form or whatever form they ordered will have the core content, but the supplement covers all those specialty business items. So just kind of be aware of that there, okay? So I probably recommend you probably print probably one or two of each of these probably. Just keep them in your car in a folder or something so you've got them. Even doing this a little while, you know, there are some special questions you may not think to ask, and having the form in your hand in the car might be a good idea for reference, just so you're not missing some stuff when it comes time to get done with the inspection, go home, whatever. Okay. A couple other forms I recommend you print. I'd probably print 4 or 5 of this form. ABS. Okay. What happens if you go to a property and there's more than one building? Okay. There's 6 buildings there. How do you go about writing that case up? How do you go about inspecting that property? What are you going to do? We have an additional building form that covers building 2, 3, 4, and on and on and on. Let's say you're doing a golf course, and building 1 is the clubhouse, but they have a golf cart storage building. They have a mechanic shed for storing the lawnmower, stuff like that. How are you going to report on all these different types of buildings? Additional building survey covers building 2, 3, 4, and up. And it covers the building 2 and its construction, its fire protection, and its mechanicals specific to building 2. Maybe building 1 was built in 1970, and maybe building 2 was built in 2000. Maybe building 1 was a concrete block building, and building 2 is a basic wood frame pole barn for storing lawn equipment. So you can make the distinction between building 1 and building 2 in an ABS form. So it gives us content specific to building 2, building 3, building 4. It lets you do it in a very clear, concise manner to eliminate if there's any variations between building 1 to 4 or whatever. You can make those distinctions within a specific form for that additional building. Okay. I probably print 4 or 5 of that form, keep them in your car. You're going to use them more often than you think. I'll definitely keep that form in your car. The final form I'd recommend you probably print, I'd say at least 1 or 2 of, is the restaurant tavern form. Okay. The restaurant tavern form is a cooking questionnaire. Now let me explain what happens with this. A lot of the inspections you do are going to be property or liability or both. But as part of your walkthroughs, you may be doing an inspection you think is going to be a basic, bowling alley, okay? And while you're doing your bowling alley inspection, looking the walkthrough, doing the mechanicals, all that stuff, is part of it. While you're walking through, turns out the bowling alley has a commercial kitchen with fryers, griddles, full suppression system. They sell hamburgers, all kinds of stuff. If you develop a commercial grease-producing kitchen in the occupancy you're surveying, the restaurant tavern form becomes required. Restaurant tavern form is the commercial kitchen questionnaire. It covers the cooking equipment in the building, the suppression system for that building, and the exhaust system. If you have commercial cooking in a building, that generally becomes the #1 fire potential in that structure. We have to properly record it and document the exposures that exist. If you have a commercial kitchen, it's obvious also. You probably would want to have photos of those, cooking line, hood, suppression system, service tags, stuff like that, solidifying that you understood the exposure and that the controls are in place for that occupancy. Okay? So restaurant tavern form, keep 1 or 2 in your car. We do have an abbreviated inspection form that could be ordered that has its own cooking questionnaire on it. That's a small risk survey. They have their own little cooking questionnaire that you can print separate for that form. But the meat and potatoes main restaurant form is our restaurant tavern form. Print 1 or 2 of those, keep them in your car. You're going to use them quite a bit. There are tons of occupancies out there that have a commercial kitchen exposure. Could be a bowling alley, which I gave the example of. Could have a church, VFW hall, banquet facility. Could be a clubhouse for a homeowner association. Or it could be simply a restaurant. If you have the commercial kitchen and you have the cooking ability, you have to record the exposure and make sure the controls are adequately in place and those controls are in fact serviced. Hope that makes sense there. We covered a lot of stuff in the class today. We're kind of getting to the tail end here. Let me draw your attention to one other item that is helpful in the website. We already covered it a little while ago, but the Web Inspect User Guide might be a next step for you. If you're brand new to MTI or this is a refresher video you want to watch on your own time, Web Inspect User Guide is a user guide for this website. So a lot of the content we covered in this video is also available to you in a print version in the Web Inspect User Guide. It's got screen by screen written instruction with screens showing the various steps, explaining what I did video in the video here. You could do in a print version as well at home. If you want to print that video or print that PDF or save it to your desktop or something, you have it for reference. You can go in and use that at your leisure. Shows you how to attach photos, how to send work, how to add recommendations, whatever thing you could want to do. That does cover those items as well. Want to say thank you for attending Introduction to Web Inspect. Thanks for being part of your day with us today and taking part in the inspection process with Midwest Technical Inspections. My name is Aaron York. I want to say thank you for coming on board with us, and we look forward to seeing you in a future webinar. My advice to folks that start this journey with us and doing this work, do not be shy about calling with questions. If you have them, do reach out. We have a full-time quality control department, full-time IT staff, full-time trainers, full-time managers, all kinds of people in place to help you be successful with this. The first 30 days is a distinct challenge. There are a lot of things to get your arms around. You have to get into your account, get your jobs printed, start calling them, start scheduling them, go out, run them, come back, put them in the computer to write them up, and then submit them. A lot of steps, a lot of dominoes that have to fall right. So don't make it harder than it needs to be. Please reach out to us if you have questions. There will always be a hand out there to help you out. So please, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to IT staff, management staff, training department, and we'll be able to help you as things come up, okay? But once again, let me say thank you for making it, watching this video and taking part of the training development with MTI. So once again, signing off, thank you.